but I know you're lying on some of the numbers. You say that 3 to 500 are part of the KKK. I grew up down south, Jackson, Mississippi, most specifically. I know that it's way more than 3 to 500. So I know you're lying there, because I was right there, had everyone around me, not saying that they were part of the KKK, but at least had quite a lot of similar opinions as they did. So I know you're lying with that in that regard. Furthermore,
well, pause for a second though, because we just want to talk about the same thing. Now, I was talking about the KKK's membership, someone who is in the Klan. You're telling me now, I was around, I saw a lot of guys who sort of think KKK style. They may not be in the KKK, but they may sort of like the KKK. Now, so let's talk about the same thing. The Klan's official membership, people who paid the $10 fee, went to the Concilium, got Klan baptized. They were 3 to 5 million people in the 20s. 50,000 of them walked down Pennsylvania Avenue in hoods. These are actual Klansmen. These aren't people who watched them on the radio and cheered. These are actual members. So we're counting like and like. I'm just saying the Klan as an institution has diminished. If the Klan has a rally anywhere in the country today, do you deny that if the Klan produces 100 marchers, there'll be 500 protesters surrounding them? The Klan in that sense is outnumbered, outgunned, and has no ability to enforce its will culturally or politically anywhere in the country. That's what I'm trying to say.
First, I don't like you interrupting me.
Well, I didn't. I waited till you finished, and then I pointed out that you were comparing apples and oranges.
I wasn't quite finished.
Okay, go for it.
But, regardless, you keep saying that the Democrats are the fascists and they're the racists and all these other things, but they're not. The Republican Party, Trump himself, has even stated that he's not directly stated, but he's hinted that he's more of a fascist. This is because how the Nazis hated the minorities. And right now the Republicans very much hate the minorities. Right now they are putting in place anti-abortion laws. They are currently trying to, just a lot of other things that they're doing, such as how they don't like transgender individuals. So I can't, something of voice that the Nazis themselves did. So you're comparing a little bit of part of the Nazis with the Democratic Party, but truthfully, they're not. Right now it's the Republican Party. So how do you say that, how can you be so blind to some aspects of it, but not others?
Well, you said that the reason that the reason the Republicans are against minorities, you gave a couple of examples. One of them was you said they're passing anti-abortion laws, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And others.
How is an anti-abortion law anti-minority?
That was a bad example.
Okay. Okay. No, I appreciate that. Okay.
Women are a minority in government.
Yeah. There we go. And traditionally speaking, anti-abortion laws do hinder people of color far more and lower classes than they do of the high upper class white women. Because the upper class white women can't just go somewhere else, whereas the lower class people of color women can't. They're stuck where they are.
So you would acknowledge then, based on just what you said, that disproportionately it is in minority communities,
yes,
right, that abortions occur disproportionately, not numerically, but proportionately. Now, do you realize that going back to the early part of the 20th century, groups like Planned Parenthood explicitly wanted to target poor and minority communities because they believed that there are lots of useless people in the world, and the best way that you could get rid of them is you don't even have to kill them, just prevent them from reproducing. Do you realize that this ideology is a straight line from this ideology in the early part of the century to what's going on now? The only difference is that you're interpreting it. I mean, from the point of the view of the people doing it, like Martin Luther King's niece, Alveda King, is very pro-life because she sees that the disproportionate effect of abortion is in poor minority communities. That's her reason for being pro-life.
Unfortunately, I missed your speech because I had to take a test compelled by the capitalist system. I have heard some of your previous comments about Marx and Marxism, and as somebody who's read a little bit of Marx, I find them to be misinformed, or if we're not being politically correct here, pretty ignorant, especially about the prediction that the capitalist class or system will destroy itself automatically, and your comments about state ownership being the goal. So, I was wondering two things. One, which of Marx's writings, which of the stuff that he wrote specifically, have you read and used that to base your analysis of Marxism off of? And second, could you define socialism in a way that is related to Marxism and not just completely, separated from it? That way you can, point to like Hitler and call him a socialist in a way that Marx would not agree with.
Well, first of all, if the capitalist system is forcing you to take a test, and you went along with it, you're obviously a very pathetic sellout of the capitalist system. You should have taken a stance of bold independence and said, I don't care about capitalism, I don't care about the test, I want real knowledge, I'm going to hear D'Souza. But you didn't do that, that's all. Look. Marx envisioned a socialism that would occur in two phases. The first would be the dictatorship of the proletariat, and then pure communism, in which the state itself would wither away. There'd be no state at all. That was Marxist doctrine.
Where do you get that from?
That the state will wither away?
Well, no, I mean that schema, dictatorship of the proletariat and all that. Which of Marx's writings are you specifically drawing upon?
Yeah, so what we have to do is we have to move from the early Marx, the Prolegomena to Hegel, the early writings of Marx through Das Kapital, through the Communist Manifesto. Now, there are some collaborations with Engels in which it's hard to disentangle one from the other. So there's an evolution in Marx. But I'm saying that early Marx was a little bit more liberal, which is to say more compatible with liberal democracy than later Marx. As Marx became radicalized over time, his doctrine of communism solidified. Socialism is to communism. Socialism is the economic wing of communism. Now, you're right, Marx didn't envision state takeovers of anything. But every actual socialist regime has done that. Every regime professing socialism has actually taken over industry and established government control over it, starting with Lenin. So I guess what I was doing is moving from Marxist theory to Marxist praxis, to action. And I don't know how to understand ideologies without looking at their practitioners. Imagine if somebody were to say that I profess true Christianity, but there are no Christians in the world. Everybody who actually says that they're a Christian is not a real Christian. I envision a Christianity that is not practiced by any so-called Christian. You'd be like, well, how do I make sense of what you're saying? All these people profess to be Christians, and if we can't look at what they think and what they believe and what they do, what is Christianity apart from Christians? So similarly, what is Marxism apart from Marxists who have actually tried to implement those ideologies?